Welcome back, Past. Been a while since we last had a chat.
Yes, it has. I don't know if this will help me, but it's worth a shot. For a while I've been trying to find a drive. I've got plenty of video topics, but no real drive to make anything out of them. And when I recall my channel history, I've never really had much of a drive for video making. They've been more like inspiration spikes, and my channel inactivity showcases this. Seeing that you make videos on a consistent basis, I was wondering if you could share your drives on video making? What allows you to make so many videos so frequently?
Oh, I think that sort of question would cover a broad range of topics, but I'm sure that I could give some advice here and there. Before I do, though, I'd like to know what sort of activities you do feel driven to take part in. What do you feel passionate about?
Well, the only consistent drive I seem to have is idea discussion. I've been talking with plenty of other analysts on Skype for months, exploring broad topics and figuring out where I stand on them. Some topics include Sunset Shimmer's past and the founding of Equestria. Idea discussion really only comes when I'm talking about something that is, in some way, related to me or my interests. History is one subject in particular that I can talk for hours on end. Discussing what I think makes sense and has symbolic importance in MLP's history has especially kept me occupied. Hence why my cutie mark represents my love of history.
So, what do you suppose has been stopping you from putting some of those ideas into videos?
Honestly, I think I already know. I don't like the video making process. It's a pain to go through because it's not fun, takes long hours, and inevitably, by its very nature, does not live up to the idealistic visions in my head. Writing the scripts is fun, but I can't get past that video making step. To top it all off, I'm a perfectionist. I don't want to leave the video making task to someone else, even if it is the best option.
I suppose I can understand that. And even if you could have someone else make all of your videos for you, I'm not sure that I would necessarily recommend it. In your case, it seems that you have a plethora of ideas but aren't entirely sure what to do with them. And I'd be willing to bet that when you do find one that you'd like to make into a video, you spend so much effort trying to figure out how to make it work that over time you start losing interest in beginning to make that video in the first place. Does that sound familiar?
You hit the nail on the head. So, what should I do about this?
Well, for starters, I get the sense that you're going to have to put aside at least a bit of your perfectionist tendencies, especially if you're constantly comparing your work with other content creators. I know that my work isn't even close to being as entertaining, as memorable, as thought-provoking, or as deep as so many of the other videos out there. I doubt that I will ever be that good. But the fact that I keep focusing on finishing the next project and occasionally finding ways to improve upon my previous works in little bits at a time is what has made the difference for me. If I have an idea to make a video, I make sure to get that idea written down, record the dialogue, find some proper visuals, and get to editing. What makes this sort of content so frequent on the internet is that most anyone can express their ideas. But I've learned from personal experience that you can't allow an idea to fall by the wayside. And that will happen if you don't make the effort to do something about it right when you begin thinking about that topic. I would guess that you have a lot of activities that you keep occupied with on a daily basis, like, say, texting, gaming, movies, TV, and all sorts of other media.
Some of what you said applies to me, and others not so much. My perfectionist tendencies aren't really a result of me comparing myself to other analysts. I've long since stopped that. Rather, my perfectionist tendencies are trying to hit something that maybe, when I think about it, hasn't ever existed. At the same time, I always try to improve on my videos with each one I make. The last solo video I did was on Mod Pi, and in my opinion, it's some of my best work, though I see it more that way in hindsight than when I actually completed it. Those were the ways in which your statements don't really apply to me. However, your last bit was completely accurate. I spend a lot of time on other activities, mostly YouTube and World of Warcraft since the new expansion came out recently. I spend my time on these activities even over other work I know I need to get done. My family members say the problem is my confidence, and they've offered solutions to it. I've tried some of their solutions, but I think most of them are too simplistic. Bottom line, with a lot of what I do, it doesn't live up to my perfectionist standards, and I don't think these problems can be easily overcome by increasing my confidence.
Ah yes, World of Warcraft. I'm not going to lie, I probably sank thousands of hours into that game back in the day. And even before then, I would spend countless more hours playing other video games or watching TV or any number of other activities that alleviate the boredom. It reached a point where I honestly believed that I could not get through a day without such things. But as much as I was enjoying my time with something like WoW, I wasn't really improving upon myself. Maybe I was being a bit more social, and maybe I was learning more about how to think quickly in unexpected situations, but it really wasn't helping me to grow. I can imagine that I would be feeling much the same way if I filled my days with texting, movies, or TV shows. But slowly I began to discover exactly how much I could really accomplish with my free time if I started putting aside the belief that I needed those things to get through the day. People have been asking just how I could possibly release so much content so consistently. There really are a number of reasons why, but this is the one reason that stands out amongst all the others. I decided that spending 2 hours playing a game won't do me nearly as much good as spending that same amount of time writing a script, creating a video that will stay on the internet forever. I've put together nearly 350 videos over the course of 19 months. The ability is there, past. I believe that most anyone could accomplish great things with their free time if they actually decided it was more worthwhile than consuming the content that others have created. Though at the same time, I'm still keeping up on a lot of media by just focusing on what I need to do first before allowing myself any kind of break. It's kind of like putting rocks and sand into a jar. If you put the sand in first, aka the need to entertain yourself, then you won't have room to fit in that many rocks, aka the things you know you should be doing. But if you put the rocks in first, then there is always room to pour the sand in through the cracks. Does that make sense to you, past?
Absolutely, but I'm not sure the metaphor perfectly applies to me. Reason being, I know deep down those other activities consume my time. It's less a problem of not knowing, and more a problem of feeling like I can't get the more important activities done to the right standards. So I never do them. As a result, I probably use YouTube, World of Warcraft, and other media as a crutch, something to keep me occupied. Unlike work and video making, I don't have high standards in my everyday hobbies. As a matter of fact, my standards for video making used to be less critical. However, the second I started doing videos, my standards increased and I found myself avoiding the whole process. The worst part is that I know what's more important. It's painful and annoying to realize in hindsight that I wasted time, and I always realize in hindsight that I wasted time. In the case of video making, I've tried to set schedules for myself. I've said numerous times over past months that a new video is on the way. Then time flies by and I realize I haven't accomplished anything. Frankly, it's a miracle people stay subscribed to my channel. One of my goals was to make it something that a viewer myself would subscribe to. However, I've never hit that mark yet, and at this rate, I don't think I will.
Well, with talk like that, it sounds like you've made your decision on what you really want to be doing. Before I started on my first video, I kept saying to myself that I'll never be all that big. Before I made my first A Moment with Dr. Wolf project, I kept saying to myself that I'll never have enough ideas to keep this going all that long. Before I had ever spoken with a lot of the YouTubers I respected and admired, I kept saying to myself that they'll never be interested in making a project with me. But throughout it all, I decided that I'd never really forgive myself if I kept looking back and thinking about what might have been. I've discovered a great many talents that I never knew I had, and I'm accomplishing feats that I never would have believed myself capable of. But I still had to put aside all of those activities that you mentioned are a crutch, something to keep us occupied. We'll never know what we are truly capable of unless we are pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zones on a regular basis. Is that something you think you can attempt, Mr. Past?
Pushing beyond my comfort zones? I've never thought of my perfectionist tendencies as comfort zones. It's ironic. These perfectionist tendencies bring me nothing but discomfort. But perhaps I've carried them around for so long that it's more comfortable to keep them around. This is definitely something I'll attempt, Dr. Wolf. Thinking about these standards in this sense might have been the advice I needed. Still, it's going to be a challenge. If I'm not thinking clearly, these standards could still decrease my interest in videos and cause me to think I never had the passion for the video in the first place. To prevent this from happening, I probably should do something to always remind me that I used to have interest in these videos. Ugh. For someone really interested in the past, I have a nasty habit of doubting my past self's passions. Regardless, thank you for the help, Dr. Wolf.
Glad to be of service, Past. Shall we continue on this next week?
You know, I think that'd be best. Yeah. Last time I skipped on another session, perhaps that wasn't the best idea. Let's set a time later. Anywho, thanks again for the help.
You are most welcome, Past. Take care. It's good to be helping.